Well, happy, beautiful, amazing day. Dr. Bob Rakowski here with this edition of the Dr. Bob Rakowski podcast. I've got Jason Shurka here, who is one of the most insightful, connected, I like to use the triad tuned in, tapped in, turned on humans I've ever met. He's young, but don't let that work against him. He is an old soul connected to amazing wisdom. And you look at what's next to him, he's got a cube, he's got a pyramid, and maybe we start there because Tesla said this: everything is energy. You are a huge advocate of energy, and I might even say as close to someone who's mastered it as anybody I've met in a long, long time. So happy, beautiful day. And what's next to you, and what does it mean?
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for having me on your show, Bob. It's awesome. We got to meet actually in person a couple months ago in Canada for the first time, and I loved everything that you did and your energy and the way that you present as well. So we definitely have a lot of things in common. Thank you very much again. In regards to what this is, so this looks like art, and it is art, but I like to call it medicinal art. It's a company called the Light System, and it's very fitting in terms of its name because it is a system of lights. But think red light therapy, only a whole lot more advanced. Red light therapy is focusing on one part of the visible spectrum of light measured in nanometers, and that's red light. Well, there's many other aspects to that spectrum as well. You got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. In the visible spectrum, at least, and every single part of that spectrum correlates to a different aspect of your body, correlates to a different organ in your body, and your body has both the physical body and your emotional body. So you have like two layers going on at the same time. So take the color blue, for example. Blue will help whether it's the blue sky, whether it's blue foods like blueberries, for example, will help with your throat, your esophagus, your trachea, your thyroid. On the emotional level or spiritual level, it will help with communication. So blue is one of my favorite colors because my job is to communicate. But basically, the way that this technology works is full spectrum light therapy, targeting different aspects of both the physical and emotional body to help create a coherent environment of energy for your body to then synchronize with that coherent environment of energy, as opposed to something that's distorted and all messed up. That's essentially the elevator pitch of how the light system really works and why I have it next to me. I love it. I love how it looks, and I love what it actually does as well.
Well, everything is energy, right? Einstein said that, and that's all there is to it. But now let's talk. There's a lot of electromagnetic interference. There's talk about 5G and other things like that. So, one, how does this operate in a way that you know is absolutely safe? And can it counteract some of the effects of things like 5G?
Yes. So there are a lot of people that think in terms of shielding from distorted or counterproductive EMFs. And electromagnetic frequencies are not all bad. There are coherent frequencies and there are incoherent and distorted frequencies. The question is, what are you emanating? So take 5G, you brought that up. 5G literally stands for fifth generational technology. 4G was fourth generational technology, third generational technology. And at some point, there's going to be a new generation. They're going to call it 6G, 7G, 10G, 20G, and so on and so forth. Just like you have the iPhone 3, the iPhone 10, the iPhone 15, it's a new generation of technology. Now, a lot of people hear 5G and they think evil. It's not evil, it's just not compatible with your body. And that's just like when you take judgment out of it and you just look at what's actually going on, energetically speaking, fifth generational technology is supposed to be faster. It's not quite faster on my phone, not yet at least, but it's supposed to be faster. And it's faster because it works on a different part of the Hertzian spectrum. So take 60 hertz, for example. 60 hertz is not that great when it comes to compatibility with the body because it just so happens to be that that part of the spectrum, that energy, that frequency, that spectrum of EMFs actually distorts the human body and causes for a lack of oxygen. So look at what happened in 2020 when they started rolling this out. People couldn't breathe properly. So this is all by design. This is not like, it just so happens to be this way. There's something going on here. And again, you could say it's intentional. You can say it's unintentional. You could say it's evil. You could say it's by accident. I don't care about all those things. I care about, is it good for you or not good for you? Is it compatible with you or not compatible with you? So the difference between 5G, for example, fifth generational technology, Statistically speaking, people who live closer to cell phone towers have higher rates of cancer. Is that because the cell phone tower is evil? No, it's because the cell phone tower was built in a way and broadcasting on a specific type of network that broadcasts specific types of frequencies that are not compatible with the body. So let's look at the opposite. If you could create a technology that emanates and radiates coherent energetic frequencies and energetic fields, then your body will synchronize with coherency as opposed to distortion. This technology is using the same thing that you see other technologies using that can create distorted frequencies, only it's working in a different way. So you still have your computer, you still have your screens, you still have your light, but it's coherent light. It's coherent electromagnetic field. So back to the beginning of what I said, it's not a shield. There's no such thing as a shield that something hits and then bounces off. That's a misconception. It's a bubble, if you will, a field that whenever something distorted, like a negative EMF touches it, it doesn't bounce off, it transmutes it. So instead of it bouncing off, it's taking a distorted field or an incompatible field and turning it into something coherent. So less of bouncing off as a shield, more of transmutation. Anything that touches it, it will shift, it will change.
I was first exposed to this type of energy healing in the 90s, and I've made investments in it for myself and my clinic, and I find it absolutely amazing. And for people that this is brand new to, just do a quick YouTube on Tony Robbins' Scalar Waves. He's a huge advocate because he had an epic response. And when you put in good energy, a very simple term is it can neutralize the bad. But Jason, so we've got all these distortions in our environment. If we didn't have a cube, if we didn't have a pyramid, what are some of the other ways that Mother Nature gives us this beautiful energy?
I love that you're bringing that up because this is meant to mimic Mother Nature. Now, I'll preface with this. In the world that we're living in now, we are not living in a natural world anymore. We're living in a completely synthetic, artificial, man-made world. So in the real world, and when I say the real world, I'm talking about the natural world, I mean grounding, drinking clean water, breathing, meditation, all of these things that will calm your nervous system. The sun, all of that doesn't give you cancer, by the way. The sun, all of these things are incredibly important, and they're really the foundation of absolutely everything. This is meant to mimic that to the best of its ability, and it will never do as well as the sun or ground. Nothing will. Nothing man made can ever meet something that was made by the Almighty, God, Source, the universe, whatever you want to call it. Nothing. But in the world that we're living in now, we sleep on fake mattresses. We sleep on mattresses. Let's start there. We wear shoes that are made of synthetic garbage. We wear clothes that are made of synthetic garbage. We're drinking water that's filled with garbage. We're eating food that's filled with garbage. We're on our computers and phones all day. And while that's all bad, we're not going to go and be cavemen again. So we need something that's a stepping stone to get us to the point of being able to live a natural life again, or as natural as it gets. And that's where it's almost like homeopathy. Homeopathy is interesting because you use the toxin in a small dosage to be able to create the cure. Now, this is not using the toxin in a small dosage to create the cure. This is using the same things that are used for negative purposes, only repurposing it and using it for positive purposes. Now, ultimately, this is a stepping stone. This is not an ultimate reality. This is not an ultimate destiny. The ultimate destiny is us consciously creating technologies where now we'll be able to use our phones, but they're not going to be giving off negative EMFs and all this negative and bad radiation. Because if we built our phones in a certain way on certain frequencies and networks, your phone doesn't need to be a negative thing. It could actually be a positive thing if it was built consciously and appropriately, but it wasn't. So the goal is how can we take all of our negative technologies and repurpose them in a positive way? But that doesn't happen overnight. That will take some time. So on the way to get there, until we get to that point, we will need to use stepping stones like vitamin D. Until we get to the point where we're not spraying our skies with garbage and blocking the sun from actually benefiting us to the largest degree, we might want to take vitamin D. The goal is we don't want to ever have to take vitamin D because we can produce it naturally when we're in the sun. But the problem is that's not the world that we live in right now. Same thing with this technology. So back to your question, sun is extremely important. And people have made this so complicated and confusing. What supplements do I have to take? And what this do I have to take? And what technologies do I have to use? And there's some people that are spending millions of dollars on technologies to extend their life. And by the way, this is one of them, and it helps. But it will not help you to the largest degree if you're going to keep eating your McDonald's and you're going to keep drinking your Coca-Cola and you're going to keep being stressed all day and you're going to keep spending time with negative people that have negative influences on you. This is a holistic path that we're taking. So when you use this, you still need to do everything else. Drink clean water, eat clean food, think clean thoughts, speak clean words, walk barefoot, not on asphalt or concrete, but on dirt and the beach, and just be as close to nature as you possibly can. And when you do that, your body's an incredible piece of technology, probably the greatest piece of technology we've ever seen to ever exist. And when you give it the proper inputs, it will give you the proper outputs.
You know what? You couldn't possibly have said that better. I was interviewed on a podcast maybe a few years ago, and I like the way they called it. They called it the Rakowski rights. They said you've got to eat right, drink right, think right, move right, sleep right, poop right, talk right every single day. And by the way, while we're talking about all those things, an easy change, we're sponsored to you by bettercoffeeshop.com, the world's cleanest guaranteed coffee in the world, infused with certified organic reishi mushroom. Bettercoffeeshop.com. Buy a box today.
I'm going to have to try that.
Yes, you are. You know what? I'm going to send you a box. You let me know you like bold, smooth, whatever. I'll get you.
Awesome.
We got something for every palate. While we're talking about this thing about energy, and let's go to incoherent energy, because I happen to think one of the greatest incoherences, and maybe you know one greater, would be cancer. So, what in the world is going on from an energy point of view with cancer in the body?
The same thing that's going on with any disease in the body. There's an imbalance of energy. So you brought up Nikola Tesla. And by the way, here's what I love in terms of our relationship and connection that we have. You're a doctor and I'm not. I don't know the terms that you know. So by nature, I'm going to take things and just simplify them for the common man because I'm the common man. I'm just the layman. I'm not the scientist. I'm not the doctor. I just like connecting dots. But then we have you to take the simplified version of it and add all your spices to it with everything that you know with the knowledge that you have from your line of work. So the way that I like simplifying all of this goes back to Nikola Tesla. He said, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, and you will understand the secrets of the universe. Well, why did he say that? Because everything is made up of energy. Now let's think about that for a second. Literally, physically speaking, we look at ourselves and we think that we're these physical beings, and we are on the surface, but everything physical is made up of atoms. Every atom is made up of 0.0001% matter. So that means that it's made up of 99.999% energy. When we look at an atom, we also say it's this physical thing, but it's not. It's a field. It's a field that's made up of your proton, electron, nucleus, whatever it is. But that's the atom is not physical. It's very little physical. It's mainly energy. So if the human body, if me and you, if all of us that are a part of this podcast right now and watching this right now are made up of atoms, that really means that we're made up of 99.999% energy. And yet in the medical system, we're only focused on the physical side of things. But that's kind of stupid because we're only 0.0001% physical. So why are we focusing only on the smallest part of what we actually are? And that's why what Nikola Tesla says makes so much sense. Think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, and you will understand the secrets of the universe. You will also go about healing in a completely different way. So when it comes to cancer, well, I don't really care about the name of the disease. I care about the dis-ease that exists in the first place. And it's a dis-ease of energy. It's a dis-ease of flow, a dis-ease of light moving through the body. So whether it's cancer, heart disease, depression, anxiety, whatever it may be, all of those things have one common denominator: imbalanced energy. And if we can rebalance energy, the cancer cannot live there in the first place. The heart disease cannot live there in the first place. And that, in my opinion, is the root of the problem. So instead of taking a pill to, fix the physical expression, that's not the root. The root is the energetic cause of what's actually going on. Fix the energy, fix the problem. And that's why I like focusing on energy, frequency, vibration, and light. That's why I'm a big proponent of the light system as well.
Yeah, let me put a little spin on that. So, what I would suggest is the energy of the cancer cell is the ultimate of selfishness. All it cares about is itself. It'll steal your food, it'll crowd your space, it'll poop and pee all over you, and all it cares about is its own sustenance. Doesn't matter who it hurts or kills. So, by the way, there's lots of metaphors for that in our society. And I think the best shield against that is love. Can cancer survive in pure love? That'd be an interesting experiment at some point in time. My 2 vitamin L's is love and light, and I think they're just expressions of the same thing, maybe with a little different intensity. What kind of spin do you have on that?
Well, I love that. Love is a coherent energy. Joy is a coherent energy. And I like always bringing it back to I just made up the name of this law. I don't know what it's actually called. You may know, maybe homeostasis, but I like calling it the law of synchronization with your environment. So take women. When women spend enough time together, as we all know, they synchronize with their menstrual cycle. Not 100% of the time, but a lot of the time we see that synchronization. Now, I say synchronization because we know the woman is not giving the other woman, a contagious period. That's not what's going on here. There's something going on in the environment that they are synchronizing with simultaneously. And it's causing for a synchronized expression, in this case, the menstrual cycle. Same thing when you spend time around somebody that's depressed. You start feeling bad. You don't want to be around those people. But then when you're around somebody that has this energy of love, you feel so much better. It literally heals you. Why does it heal you? Because you're synchronizing with them. So maybe scientifically speaking, we can call that homeostasis, where if you have hot water and cold water and you put it together, they'll end up coming into homeostasis, rebalancing and synchronizing with each other. On the flip side, if you have, you know, this canister that you connect an electrode to keep it at 100 degrees at any given time, and you pour really cold water in there, that water will heat up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit and will synchronize with the container that it's in that's at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So we see this happening in nature. I'm just giving it in a more human way. So the energy of love is a coherent field of energy. And when you have that truly and unconditionally, not only are you reformulating the formations of water in your body, the molecular formations of water in your body, but you're now a positive cell phone tower. You're now a positive node. You're not something that's expressing incompatible frequencies. Love is a compatible frequency. So you then radiate that and people synchronize with it. Now, that may not heal people all the time 100%, but I would bet that you're probably going to have a high degree of success in terms of probability because you are expressing when you remove the word love, because people hear that, they're like, well, that's woo woo. It doesn't really make sense. Let's talk energy. Positive, coherent, energetic fields create positive, coherent, energetic outcomes. And that's all that's going on here. So, whenever I see anybody that's dealing with something, this is the beauty in terms of what we're doing here, where you have the layman and you have the doctor. You may look at somebody that has cancer and you're going to be able to give them specific things to do to support the body to help along the way physically. And that's extremely important. But then you also have the root cause that's also very important, which is where I speak about the energetic side. And if you could do both simultaneously, I'll give you a perfect quick example, you could reach incredible heights. About a week and change ago, out of nowhere, and maybe it's not out of nowhere because a lot of people are getting sick now, I was dead in bed and I never get sick. And I'm like, what is going on? So I called a friend of mine. She's like a doctor, registered nurse, shaman, all in one. And I did one of those IVs with, vitamin D and vitamin C and vitamin B and all those stuff. And it was really interesting. Before we did anything, she did a meditation with me. And she started working with me on an emotional level. And it was the first time I ever saw incense have a holder on the IV stick, literally on the thing that was holding the IV bag. There was incense burning with me. So she was one of the unusual but amazing individuals that will combine the spirit with the physical. And I got better very quickly. So it's always an emotional thing coupled with its physical expression. If you take care of only one, eh. If you take care of only the physical, really, but if you could take care of both, you just speed up that healing process so much faster.
Well, I looked into your Becoming Superhuman conference, and by the way, I'm booked in advance, so I won't be able to attend, but oh my gosh, I wanna see when the 2027 one is or the next one. But let's talk about what your goal was in 2024, and I looked for 2026. There's a big section on connecting the emotions to what's going on with people, and
Yes,
some very special guests. So maybe talk about 2024, 2026, and beyond.
absolutely. So the first time I did this, it was called the Transformation. And it was an event with essentially just myself. I brought a few other people to guide meditations and things like that, but it was a heavy lift because it was 3 days, nearly 12 hours a day in some cases. I don't know how I kept my voice the whole time. I lost it at the very end. And the whole point of that was, how do we transform into our highest potential without having to study for 50 years and sit on a mountaintop somewhere in Tibet and, do all these things that people think you need to do to be some master of some sort. And I don't believe that. I think you can master things in a very simple way. I think that although there's an infinite energies in the world that we see and experience right now, there are finite governing laws of that infinite energy. So I don't focus on the infinity part of it because you'll never know all of that. But you also don't have to focus on the infinity part of it. You need to focus on the governing laws. Take numbers. Numbers are infinite, but they're made up of governing laws: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and 10 digits. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if you know those 10 digits and four laws, you're able to know essentially every single number. You don't need to know infinity to understand how infinity works. You don't need to know every number to understand its governing law. Same thing in the universe. You don't need to know energy because energy, you'll never know what it is. It's infinite. It can't be created. It can't be destroyed. First law of thermodynamics, it's called the law of conservation of energy. So when we understand that, it becomes very overwhelming, but then we change it. We say, okay, there are a few finite laws that make up or govern infinity. And that's exactly some of the things that I teach and I taught in 2024. I'm teaching now in January of 2026 at the Transformation, the Becoming Superhuman event. But this time I brought a few other people with me, some people that I think are much smarter than me and what they know. And they're incredible in terms of what they do and what they can share and teach. And those individuals are Dr. Brian Artis, Dr. Edward Group, Aaron Apke, and Robert Edward Grant, along with Pete Heidlund from Australia. These are all incredible individuals that are not just, in some cases, experts in the medical field, but they're experts in the energetic field as well. And they have a beautiful way of combining the two. So I'm going to be joined alongside them this time in January of 2026, in about 3 weeks from now. The event is happening in person and also virtually, where all of you can get your tickets, whether in person or virtually, on my website at jasonshurka.com, just my name, jasonshurka.com. But one of the things that I'm looking forward to probably the most is Dr. Brian Artis's presentation, where he was taught and really guided by one of the top individuals in this space when it comes to releasing negative emotions, releasing trapped emotions. The doctor that taught him is the guy who invented the emotion code and the body code. His name is Dr. Bradley Nelson. And Dr. Brian Artis got to learn them firsthand, directly. And Dr. Brian Artis is one of the now leading individuals in the world that can help release trapped emotions through certain techniques like the emotion code, using magnets to bring, and kinesiology, applied kinesiology, to bring up certain trapped emotions to the general meridian, the prime meridian, and then releasing those emotions from the prime meridian using magnets. And it sounds complex. It's very simple. He's going to be doing it on the ground at the Becoming Superhuman event for people that are there and teaching you how to do it as well. So it's going to be really interesting, and I look forward to it.
I think most people that are listening to this, there's a few things that are going to resonate, and that's a big part of what we're talking about. They're going to realize your emotions are driving your life, and you probably also realize that there's some emotions that you wonder, man, why the heck do these things keep repeating, despite the fact that I want to do that? So techniques, there's emotional freedom technique, whatever Brian Artis is sharing about emotion codes and things like that. I'm remembering a quote from Brian Tracy. He said, "I used to think people were 50% logical, 50% emotional. Now I realize they're 100% emotional. Sometimes they just have, more emotion towards the logical decision.
Yeah.
So now, what have you seen in terms of the scalar waves, the pyramids, the cubes, in terms of accelerating or enhancing that release? Have you looked into that?
Yeah. So let me start with this. There's a man named Dr. Glenn Ryan, biophysicist, Harvard trained, Stanford trained. He's done studies in these schools, in these medical schools as well. Been doing this for 50 years. And he did a study on the light system technology, and he found, in short, just summary, he found that it increases electrical conductivity in the cells by 80% in just 1 hour. Now, the reason why that's so important is because we are electrical beings. Our cells have mitochondria. That mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. The more electricity and electrical conductivity you have, the more flow you have. An 80% increase in 1 hour is something that he said he's only seen two other times in his life, and he's studied many different technologies. So that's one of the main things that will kind of segue into what I'm about to say, because what I'm about to say may sound crazy. I've seen almost everything and anything and everything under the sun have some sort of positive impact. Now, of course, I haven't seen every element under the sun because there's so many. But when it comes to the main ones, you're talking cancer, heart disease, autism, nonverbal individuals, anywhere from that to back pain, eyesight getting better, hair growing more, all of these things, I've seen people report getting better and becoming more productive in their systems. Now, there are some people that go for one reason and they see a completely different outcome. So one person I know, he had some crazy thing going on. It didn't help that, but he said, Jason, suddenly I could see the score when I'm watching the basketball game on TV. I couldn't see it before. So his eyesight started getting better. Now, here's the thing. We may want the body to focus on one thing or another thing, but sometimes the body has its own priority list, and we can't control that all the time. So all I can tell you is when it comes to seeing the body heal itself, and that's really what's going on, because it's not the technology that's healing the body. It's the technology giving the proper energy and infusing the body with the proper environment and resources and tools for the body to do what it does best, which is heal itself. Does it work 100% of the time? No, nothing does. And anybody that tells you that something works 100% of the time is lying to you. There is no such thing that is 100% because we are all different bodies. We are all different human beings, and we all operate differently. There's no one size fits all. But I can tell you that 80% of the time, I've seen incredible outcomes with people that are going to this, whether emotionally, physically, and so on and so forth, and spiritually as well. And it's pretty awesome. And that comes down to the common denominator between all imbalances. Cancer, depression, anxiety. People think these are different things. They're not. They're different expressions. They're the same thing at the core. Energetic imbalance. This technology creates a coherent environment for your body to synchronize with.
Yeah, I want to go back to your shaman for a second for just a comment. So what you put in was really good biochemical energy, but in an environment of loving energy. And I'll tell you what, if you've got that level of intention every time you interact with people, all the better. And I think you'll create the best life possible. I know you've got a hard stop because you're in demand. You got another podcast coming up. In our final moments, what is your final wrap up message to the world, and how can people reach you?
So two things. Number one, I would love to bring you onto my show and have you share your knowledge as well. I think that'd be awesome. So we'll definitely set something up.
Absolutely. Let's get
And yeah, absolutely. And number two, my main message is always understand that we seemingly live in a physical world. We seemingly live in a world, at least to our own naked eye, that has things that exist outside of us that can help us. And that's true, and it's also not true. Fundamentally, it's not true. Your body is the greatest tool, the greatest technology out there. And instead of looking for something outside of you to come and save you, first do the things within. Even with the light system, it's not something outside of you that's coming to save you. It's a technology that is outside of you that is helping you save yourself, essentially. It's giving you those proper tools, the proper environment. So my final message is really don't externalize your power in anything in life. always run it through the filter of your own understanding, of your own free will, of your own knowledge, of your own experience, of your own wisdom, regardless of who's sharing something with you. Because they may not be bad, but they may be wrong. And when you can apply your own understanding, even if you're not an expert, you still have a brain and you can still think. And when you understand the governing laws and you apply your own thoughts, you'll be able to get pretty far in life. So don't underestimate yourself. Don't externalize your power. Always hold your power within and always listen to everything around you, but don't take it as truth first. Even this, don't take it as truth first. Run it through your own filter and see where it takes you. With that, you can all find me on Instagram, The Real Jason Shurka. YouTube is Jason Shurka. My website is jasonshurka.com. You'll find everything I'm about on there. And I hope to see you guys at the upcoming Becoming Superhuman event, the transformation event in January of 2026, right here in Miami, Florida. You can get tickets virtually or in person on my website at jasonshurka.com. And with that, Dr. Rakowski, thank you very much for making this happen.
Well, you are very welcome. You're an old soul, you're a wise soul, and you stick with first principles that are timeless, things that have been proven to help people and all of humanity forever. And guess what? It just gets better. And as always, I'm Dr. Bob Rakowski, absolutely knowing that we can all be happy, healthy, and successful.